Welcome to another episode of Operation American Dream. Great, my favorite way to finish the week, man, is come on the show with you. We got an awesome show lined up.
We're batting 1,000, man.
We really are. I don't know if you and I are, but for guests we are.
Well, the show's batting 1,000.
Yeah. You know, I want to share something real quick, and I know I got to be quick here, but there's two major hubs in media. There's LA and there's New York, and here we are in San Diego. If you're going to create a nationwide show that was sharing the stories of our military, wouldn't San Diego be the place you do it?
First choice.
So here we are in a military town with a great show lined up for you. Stick around. Here comes Operation American Dream. All right, welcome back to Operation American Dream. We have an amazing guest joining us here. We have the author of The American Sniper, co-author with Chris Kyle. Have you read the book?
Have I read the book?
Yeah.
I've seen the movie a few hundred times.
Yeah, amazing movie, amazing book. I actually, in most cases, people read a book and then see the movie. I saw the movie and then read the book. And man, what a fascinating story of an American hero. And it was co-authored by Scott McEwen, who joins us in studio. Scott, thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So one of many books. You have a lot of other books out now as well.
I do. I've now on my 7th book. I've got 4 in the novel series called the Sniper Elite series. And then I've got another book called Eyes on Target. And then in September, I'm releasing a book on a Navy SEAL commander, now retired, who's a congressman out of Montana by the name of Ryan Zinke, 23 years with the SEAL teams, now the sole congressman from Montana, and an amazing patriot as well.
Yeah, and we appreciate you sharing the story the way that you have on all of these heroes. Your story is fascinating. We were chatting with you before the show. You weren't previously an author. You were an attorney. You had a friendship with Chris Kyle and some of these other Navy SEALs, and you just thought he had a compelling story that needed to be shared. So the two of you got together and wrote this book.
Yeah, I was already in the middle of a book that I was doing just on some of the funnier antics of drinking with the SEALs, called Drinking with SEALs.
Those boys can drink.
They can. And so I'd been through a few interesting evenings with them, and boating trips, things like that around San Diego. So I just thought that a lot of people really didn't know exactly the people they were dealing with there, because those guys, they work hard, they train hard, but they also play hard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So while I was in the middle of that, I got to know Chris, and Chris was about a year before he was getting out of the teams, and I did some corporate work for a company by the name of Blackwater, and introduced Chris to some of the Blackwater guys to try and get him a job there potentially when he got out of the teams. He didn't end up taking that job, but as a result of getting to know him and having a couple beers with him as well, I just heard the most amazing, compelling, patriotic story of a kid from Texas that really became a legend amongst the SEALs, who was a pretty badass group of guys, as you know.
Absolutely.
You had to be a legend among the SEAls.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, he was an unbelievable guy. I mean, we lost Chris, to the most unfortunate and ironic of means, with him helping another veteran. But I like to try and think that we've kept his message going, which is one of support for this country and support for the military.
And it really genuinely has. I mean, your book and that movie changed, I think, our country from a civilian point of view. I think it got more people engaged in the heroic stories of those who serve. And I just want to commend you for it. What was it like writing the book with Chris? Obviously, he isn't an author either, so your background is in law. He is trained as a Navy SEAL, and the two of you collaborate for a best-selling book, one of the high-selling books of all time. What was the process? How did you guys approach it?
I approached it from a technical aspect, and I ended up at the end of the day engaging another guy to finish it with us with the book, just because I was feeling like a trial lawyer that had only done a couple trials. Like you need an older figure, a different figure with you to make sure that whatever you're doing is right once you've gotten your pieces together for the trial, if you will. But I just approached it like I was a scribe at the Battle of Carthage, if you will. Like it was my job to describe Normandy Beach or any other battle that this country has been through as accurately, as impassionately, but as knowing that that subject that I'm dealing with is a really amazing hero, and try to just accurately describe his battlefield experiences, because they really spoke for themselves. I mean, when Chris was in so much, and we know a lot of our guys that have been back-to-back deployed in many branches of the service, from Marines to, you know, to Army to the SEALs, have been through a lot. But Chris and his group of guys went through a real lot just because they were in Fallujah. They were in Ramadi. They were in, you know, Al-Anbar. They were in, you know, the stuff in Sadr City. Some of the worst fighting that the United States has seen really since Guadalcanal. You know, as far as hand-to-hand combat is concerned.
I'm trying to think of what, I don't even know how you got the book out. I would just be hearing these stories. I would probably just be inclined to drop the pen and just sit back and, you know, I mean, it had to be incredible just hearing and having the ability to sit there and hear these stories from Chris.
Well, it was, and times we lost focus. I mean, I lost focus because of that exact reason. But I'd just start the recorder, and many times we'd have a, you know, half case of Coors Light sitting there, and you know, I'd just say, okay, let's talk about, you know, the Second Battle of Fallujah. You know, what happened for you to get 90 confirmed kills in that period of time. There must have been a lot of stuff going on. Let's try and go over those. We had a lot of the medal counts. We had a lot of the historical data from his DD-214 that we could go over as well, to the, kind of the commendations and the things that happened while it was there that really meant nothing to Chris. I mean, as far as medals and things like that, that to him was just another, you know, part of it, but certainly not one that he cared about, you know, personally. What he cared about was bringing his guys home. And what his memories were etched in, you know, as far as, you know, what we needed to like really show in the movie and show in the book, which we didn't sidestep on, was that he did have some PTS issues, and, you know, and he was dealing with that, and you know, unfortunately we lost him after he had really dealt with a lot of those demons.
Right. Because
one of the stories that I wanted to tell was that there is a tunnel there, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and if you or other people that have been in the military want to seek that light, guys as tough as Chris Kyle that have been through so much battle, they sought it, they made it, and so I wanted it to be an inspiration for the rest of the community that they can make it too. And so did Chris.
So Hollywood, when they make movies off of a book, they tend to, you know, embellish stories. Hollywood, you know, Hollywoodize the story, if that's the word you're looking for. How do you think that they did with your writing with Chris on that movie?
Well, I mean, through the strangest of circumstances, when Chris was still alive and we were first approached by Hollywood, and really I made the decision to go with the group that I did, with Andrew Lazar and with Jason Hall to write it. And Chris was kind of standing back. You know, he was back in Texas. He was happy to be with his buddies, with his family. He was starting up a new company out there. So he was kind of dispassionate, if you will, at best. He didn't really care about the whole Hollywood thing. And so I kind of had to make the call on who I felt was going to be the best to tell the story.
Yep.
And it's a very dangerous thing when you choose the wrong person there, because once you sign off on the rights to the book, they can do about whatever they want.
Right.
You know, and as bad or good as it might be, and I've seen some really terrible jobs of taking a book and going to a movie, and as we all have.
Of course.
You know, and
that was
so
the context of my question.
Yeah, and it was I was very concerned. You know, thank God we had Clint Eastwood that stepped in after Spielberg dropped the project. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, Steven Spielberg, how could you want him to drop the project? And I'll just say, look, if there's ever anyone you wanted to drop the project for being a director for, it's Clint Eastwood on a movie about an American hero.
Right.
And, you know, thank God, you know, Clint and Bradley Cooper took it to heart, and they did what I consider to be the best work that's been done in quite some time on an American military type genre. And, you know, it turned out to be a very accurate representation of the book and of the man.
It was a great movie, and to hear you say that makes it even.
Yeah, I was very
Absolutely.
pleased. Very pleased with the work that was done there.
And I also know that you lost a friend, and so we
yeah.
appreciate you coming here and sharing the story. The book is amazing. You have other books on the horizon. People can reach out to you online. Scott, thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate that, and I'd like to give a shout out for one of my military,
Please do.
my military, you know, the Navy SEAL Fund. I feel is a very good fund that's out there. I vetted them. 100% goes to the families and to the people that when the money goes in, which for me, when I speak of funds and speak of military, military charities, I try and make sure, as I think everybody should, that the majority of the money goes to where it's supposed to be going.
Absolutely.
And the organization is?
It's the Navy SEAL Fund.
Okay, the Navy SEAL Fund. Okay, if we can help in any way, I'm sure it's rolled on screen for us. But Scott, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Whew.
How do you top that?
We'll try.
Do our best.
It won't be for lack of effort. Coming up next, more Operation American Dream. Our goal is to educate, empower, and engage. Back in a minute. So joining us in studio, a man who has passion for helping the military civilian, just like me. We have Albie Maslin, first time on the show. You're the Director of West Coast Operations. Good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Daniel, you made this connection.
Yeah,
Where do we find this? The three bearded guys. I think I got the weakest one out of all three of us
I didn't
here.
make this connection. Albie makes his own connection.
Got it.
Albie shows up and connections appear.
Yeah, so he's
That's
running
how good
across
Albie
the
is.
country and just comes into Ignite Media, our studio. You just finished a big run.
Yeah.
Tell us about the run.
Myself and two veterans, a Marine Corps veteran, Nick Biazzi, a Navy veteran, Matt Peace. We ran from Houston, Texas to San Diego, California, finished on the USS Midway flight deck, and that was all to raise money for the Travis Manion Foundation.
Well, what was the story? The story behind that is
True.
Really...
The story behind that was we were contacted by a family who had a situation. The father, Sam Alama Leonard, at the age of 73, set out to go from Tampa, Florida to California, and it was only able to make it as far as Houston, Texas, due to stomach cancer. And he passed away a few months later, but we heard that, and we're all about if not me, then who at the foundation. So what do you do in a situation like that? You step up and you pick up where a stranger left off and finish something for him.
Wow, great story. How long did it take you?
That took 30 days, but honestly, we could
30 days.
Could have done it a little bit faster. We wanted to finish on the deck on the 9th anniversary of when Travis Manion made the ultimate sacrifice, and that was April 29th. So you sort of figure, well, we'll base our miles on when we'll get there on that day because it has significance as opposed to the 23rd.
So where did you stay along the way?
We stayed with some friends of friends. Stayed in a lot of random, funny little hotel, motel spots along the way. It's a real interesting way to see the country for sure.
Well, is there the story on your website or anything? How can we learn more about it?
Yeah, it's called Operation Sam Alama in honor of Sam Alama Leonard. And to date, we've raised $25,000 for the foundation. We're going to be coming out with a little video here shortly that will help to promote it more as well. But you can find that on the foundation page.
So that run and your original run, or I don't know, was your original run for Travis Manion Foundation? That was to support the Travis Manion Foundation. So tell us about the Travis Manion Foundation.
So we're a veteran service organization. We were started by Travis Manion's family after he made the ultimate sacrifice in Iraq in 2007. He was shot by enemy sniper fire, pulling two of his buddies back to safety. And his family wanted to carry on his legacy, but also carry on the legacy of other service members who had made the ultimate sacrifice. And so they started the foundation, and we do a lot of different work, but the focus is really on putting character into action. We believe that veterans and families of the fallen are well positioned to demonstrate character, and specifically to demonstrate that working with youth.
How can we help you?
We can go to travismanion.org, TravisManion.org, and there's all sorts of information there on the site that will tell you a little bit more about the other work we're doing with veterans in transition, taking surviving family members on these incredible expeditions where they can honor their loved ones and challenge themselves. It's a real pleasure and an honor to work for the foundation.
I love the concept of and you kind of breezed past it, but a big core of what you guys do is around, if not me, then who?
Yeah. So those were the words that Travis lived his life by, the words that he gave his life living, essentially. And it's this selfless service mantra that says, each and every one of us have an opportunity each and every day to step up and to be the bigger person. And sometimes that might be really as small as picking up a piece of trash. But it can be as big as devoting yourself to a cause and finding however you can to give back to that. And that's just something that we all have the capacity to take on.
Do you guys have any events or anything coming up on the horizon?
Yeah, absolutely. We have on June 13th, we have our West Coast Golf event, which will be at Mission Viejo Country Club.
Okay,
and
awesome.
You can find information for that on our website as well. And we will, in this September, I believe the weekend of September 11th, we'll have our 9/11 Heroes Run, which, if all goes as planned, we'll start and finish on the USS Midway. So it's a pretty solid spot to close a 5K out.
What kind of distance are we talking on that one?
That's
I want to join one of these, but man, I don't know if I can make it to Texas.
No, that's a 5K, and that's for everyone. 1 mile fun run if you need it. You know, it's a good opportunity.
But when Albie says 5K, he means 5,000 miles. You got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, well I appreciate you coming on the show. And you haven't served in the military, civilian. You just have a passion for it, similar to mine, and I think it's awesome. You're welcome back on this show anytime. And if we can support your cause, I'm sure we've rolled your website up on the screen. I hope people visit you online, see what they have going on, maybe donate money or have some fun with these guys and just raise awareness. Albie, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into some military advocacy, where we're giving you some information, things you need to know if you've served in the military, even if you haven't. Just good information for you to know coming up on Operation American Dream in just a moment. All right, now joining us in studio, we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about the financial stuff, right? This is so important. There's a certain type of advice that is more niche to military. Like, for example, you run Synergy One Lending, VA financing, 100%, no money down. There's better opportunities there. Also, we can tailor some of this language around the financial market, financial planning. Scott Tucker joins us in studio with Be Financially Fit.
Yeah.
All right, man, good to have you on the show. We've had you on the radio show before.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, you look sharp for TV. You came on radio, you're all bearded up, man.
I mix it up. Yeah, I love having two different personalities.
Awesome, man. A third one. I've seen the Wolverine.
The Wolverine.
Comic-Con.
I do get that suggestion a lot, and so I went with it last year, and it went over well.
This guy does
share the photos.
He does an amazing Wolverine.
I could see it.
Doesn't just look at the part, but like does the part. He had like the real claws. What do you even call those things?
They're custom made on Amazon. I know that for sure.
That's what they call it.
You shouldn't be walking around a crowd of millions of people with those things with alcohol involved.
I actually was, I'd be in bars with friends and I'd leave because I was like, I'm not comfortable
What
with
do
this.
you mean? You can bottle open right there?
Right, but the bouncers were like, get back in there. You look too cool.
All right, man, so give us some advice for our military. I've seen a lot of the stuff that you do, not just on our shows, but putting stuff out there on YouTube, cool videos, giving advice. Speak to it.
Yeah, one of the big things I always talk about is, my own story. When I got back from my deployment in Iraq, many years ago, I was stationed in Germany. So I got off the plane, and the first thing I did for my next birthday was what everybody does, goes and buys a brand new car. I got an Audi, and I'm driving down the Autobahn, having a blast. And then right about that same time, I'm 26 years old, I pick up my first book on financial planning, literally The Idiot's Guide to Financial Planning. And that's when I learned about, the interest of owning a car loan, like what it really costs. This isn't a $30,000 car, it's a $50,000 car.
Right.
And then I learned about opportunity cost. That term of opportunity cost, what are we missing out on that we don't even know? Mm-hmm. And I was missing out of, had I invested that same car payment, 30, 40 years later, I'd have over $1 million. How did I get through 26 years of life, graduated West Point, and nobody ever told me about opportunity cost? And we see that so often with all the military benefits. Mm-hmm. VA loans, understanding the military pension, even properly using the thrift savings plan.
Now, this isn't the first time we've mentioned this. You guys go, you put your lives on the line, and you get this amazing training in the military, and then you come out, and just from my perspective, it seems like, thanks for your service, here you are back in the homeland, now figure it out, right?
Right.
It's just not the core competency, right? The core competency, there's a mission around it. So guys like Scott come in on the outside and try to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be difficult.
Right. I mean, we have a job to do in the military. There isn't enough time in the day to go beyond the mission sometimes, and there's required PowerPoint slides, that get put in front of soldiers, but maybe the wife's not there or the spouse is not there, and they're not going to get the full picture and understand how it all ties together.
Well, the other thing too is that a lot of times you went to West Point and kind of went in. A lot of these guys are getting in. The majority of the guys are getting in out of high school, and sometimes they don't have any leadership at home with parents that teach them finance. And finance is such a pillar of what makes a person's situation complete.
Yeah, I think it gives them a chance to figure out their purpose in life, and beyond the military. I mean, we feel very confident about our purpose when we're serving. But when that time's up, whether you do 3 years or the full 20 or more, at some point you got to take command of your own future. There's nobody there to give you orders anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So if someone was tuned in, served in the military, and I imagine you help people that haven't served in the military as well?
Sure.
Okay. But speak to the people that served in the military. I have a lot of friends that have served. I mean, I'm thinking of one in particular that just doesn't ever get his finances in order. He makes 6 figures a year. He's a physician's assistant, does really well. I talked to him about buying a house. Yeah, I should. Credit is beat up, doesn't do anything about it, doesn't buy the house, doesn't really have a financial plan, and he's making really good money.
Sure.
And it's troubling to me because it's like you could get your whole life set up ahead of you. Use the VA benefit, get some sort of plan in place. What would be the first step you would encourage someone to take in that position?
What makes you happy? You know, what is your purpose beyond just having that job? Do you want to wake up at 65, oh, I've set myself up for that great retirement?
He's going to tell you beer.
A beer? All right, then maybe he opens a brewery.
Yeah.
And how do we motivate him to want to look at his money, to set himself up, to not only be financially free,
Right.
but have the passion to enjoy it and look back on life with no regrets?
There's a difference between money and success, right?
Right.
There's a difference in money without purpose.
How many times do we hear the richest people aren't any happier?
Right.
But we can be happy having served. But we see with that 22 number every day on Facebook, how many push-ups we're doing. Is it always about PTSD, or is it guys that maybe didn't just take control of their own finances while they had an opportunity in the military, and they get out and they don't quite fit in with a job, and now they're kind of lost, and we have other issues like homelessness, and how does that compound to the problems
That's
we have as
actually a really
veterans?
good point. I mean, PTSD is obviously a very serious
absolutely.
issue, but there's other issues that can weigh in as well. Finances certainly be a big one, and I know you help people with that, and we really appreciate the message here today. Visit Scott online. He is a terrific financial advisor, and he's been on our radio show. Love having him on this program. We'll have you on again. Scott, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into your stuff, man. We're getting into the VA finance stuff, the real estate stuff.
It's the cornerstone of any financial plan.
All right, man. Well, coming up next on the American Dream, Operation American Dream. All right, we're going to finish strong here. If you've served in the military, one of the best opportunities that exist for you is your VA benefits when buying a home. Daniel, you help people with this. Doesn't get any better. It's one of the things our government does right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
No money down, great interest rates, and you get to own. You always say this. If you served our country, you deserve a piece of it.
Big time.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And you just spoke on stage in front of a couple thousand real estate professionals giving advice specifically on VA opportunities, VA benefits.
Yeah, we could educate veterans till we're blue in the face, but if the realtors don't know to take the offers, then that's a problem. So that's a big part of what we do.
I agree. Tom Olson, who is a top producing realtor, joins us in studio. Having served in the Marines, thank you for your service. And
my pleasure.
You're one of those guys. You're the realtor. You're
That's right.
the one who's out there in the market. And I know you help people that are civilians as well to buy homes. But let's talk about the market a little bit first and foremost. How's the market doing?
The market's really strong right now. It's definitely becoming a seller's market right now, and we're basically in the trenches of a seller's market. Meaning it's a great time to sell, but with the right team in place, it's also a great time to buy because interest rates are still low, especially up in my neck of the woods. The home prices are still affordable, and you can get a lot more bang for your buck up there.
You know, it's interesting when you have a market that is kind of, I mean, sometimes the buy-sell thing is a seesaw, right?
Absolutely.
One or the other. But when you're selling something, it's about the price. Mm-hmm. When you're buying something, it's about the cost.
Yep.
You can get more out of the price of a sale right now because there's so much demand, there's so little inventory. But the cost, which you can speak to, right now is incredibly low because the interest rate.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll get people in the office that are really trying to target a dip in prices, but while they're targeting the dip in prices, rates go up, and then they end up paying more in the long run anyways.
Yeah, what is it? If the rates went up 1%, it lowers your purchase power by somewhere around 10%, right?
It's a big difference.
Yeah. So think about that. If you're trying to time that, if rates are going up, your payment goes up, you lose out on the interest. So it is a little bit of a Rubik's Cube, but this is why we have great advisors. So now, specifically the market up there, though, tell us a little bit about, you're in Temecula, Riverside, you help a lot of people. You mentioned during the break that, I mean, it's practically a military town.
Absolutely. In the last 10 years, Temecula has very much become a military town. And the biggest reason for that is, one, proximity to all the bases. So it's a pretty easy commute down there. And then also, you just get more house for your money up there. It's also
Give me an example of that. Like, what price range?
So an example is like when I bought my home, I had just picked up staff sergeant. So, and all the BAH rates just went up. So if you're a staff sergeant right now, you're making almost $2,600 in BAH. And if you're living on base,
is basic allowance for housing.
Right, so. Yeah. So that's a great benefit, but if you're living on base, you're giving that benefit right back. So up in Temecula, you can take advantage of that and actually probably get a nicer house, better schools, and all of that, and still pay under what you're paying for BAH.
Why don't more military people buy homes?
Education gap. There's a gap in education.
The BAH, the no money down.
Well, think about this too. If you live on base or if you rent, typical timeline, even if you're staying in the Marine Corps or in the Navy or whatever you're doing, you know, 3-year stint in San Diego, call it $2,500 bucks, $2,600 as a staff sergeant, whatnot. That's 90,000 plus over that period of time that you're guaranteed to lose. Everybody looks at the risk of buying, but they don't look at the risk of not buying.
I just don't get it, and I'm kind of a numbers guy. And when you're investing, now, first of all, you're buying a house, you need a place to live, you need food, water, shelter, you're gonna live there, raise your family there, build memories. It's a home first.
Right.
But on the investment side, they talk about risk versus reward. What's the risk of buying if you don't have to put any money down and you can use the BAH to make the payment for you? Even if the market were to crash, you still live there and it's still that BAH money. If you moved, you could rent it. If you moved, you could sell it. If the market somehow went down, it's not like you couldn't short sell it, right?
And BAH is one of the the few times where you could take tax-free money and buy a tax-advantaged asset.
Explain that.
So when you have basic allowance for housing or basic allowance for sustenance as a military member, you get money aside from your paycheck that is non-taxable. So the BAH is not taxed. So when you take that money, then you buy a house with that money, the interest on the loan and the taxes are tax deductible, so they reduce your tax burden even further. So on a VA loan that's in the low 3s anyways, you're actually paying an effective rate far lower than that.
Yeah. No, I mean, so giving outside advice, you know, when you're looking to buy a home, you need kind of the 1-2 punch. You need a realtor who's going to navigate the market, find you a home that fits your family's needs, but you need the financing plan. And Daniel and Tom make an amazing 1-2 punch. So he gets someone pre-qualified. What's the process of looking for a home with you?
So the first step in all of that is to meet with a realtor. And I think that, like you said, the education gap is there. And I think, like, when I was buying my first house, I had done a ton of research. I spent like my entire deployment reading books about buying homes and things like that. But when I got back, I still didn't really understand how that applied to my specific situation. So I sat down with a realtor, and that realtor basically lined out a path for me, for my specific situation, that I could have that path to ownership. Just like in our military occupational specialties, we have roadmaps to success there. My goal is to put a roadmap in place for a military family so that they can accomplish their real estate goals and take the mystic out of it, that unknown, and really get them concrete numbers so that they understand everything and have the information in place to make a decision that's good for their family. Because at the end of the day, my job is to help families accomplish their real estate goals and do that with the least amount of stress and worry as possible, and really make it a good experience for everybody.
Well, I know you're doing a good job, man. You have a great reputation. You're doing big numbers, and the people that have served, I know, can reach out to you. And even if you haven't served, Tom is obviously a great guy. You should reach out to him. He's up in North County. Certainly, Daniel can help you run through the numbers. Tom, appreciate you coming on the show, man. And Daniel dropping in the knowledge on the BAH tax advantages. That's what I drop in here. Knowledge. All right, we got to wrap it up. So when we come back, we're going to wrap it up, tell you what's coming up next week right here on Operation American Dream. Amazing guest today. Unfortunately, we got to rush now because we're out of time. Daniel Lehman, dude, what a show.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it. A man of few words, Daniel Lehman. Would you shave this weekend?
I'll try.
Clean it up a bit. Hey, great show. Glad you could tune in. OperationAmericanDream.tv if you want to follow us. See you next Friday.